And we're back. I just finished resanding the floor, so it's been a couple days now. I took probably, I don't know, three days with a couple hours here and there to finish sanding this floor. At the end of the day, I ended up sanding it just way more than I did the first time. I wanted to show you guys, I didn't film any of the sanding just because it was repetitive and you guys already saw me sand. I ended up not going to Lowe's or Home Depot, rather, and renting. I ended up getting this belt sander. It's a 3-inch by 21-inch belt sander made by Wen. This one was highly recommended for hardwood floors. It did phenomenally, so it'll be in description below if you're thinking about sanding your own floors. So I guess let me address, lessons learned. One, sanding is a much larger part of finishing a floor than I thought it was going to be. You do have to sand. It's why people obviously avoid it. You have to remove all of the previous lacquer or polyurethane seal you have on there, especially if you want to change the color of it. If you don't want to change the color of it and you're just trying to make it look nicer, you can always just reseal it with the same seal. So lacquer, if it was lacquer, or polyurethane oil, if it was polyurethane oil, etc. If there's not a ton of blemishes and you just want it to get a nice clean shine, you can always just go that route. So I did go with a 40 grit, up to a 60 grit, up to an 80 grit, and I finished with the 80 grit. There's kind of mixed information on if you need to go higher than that or not. The floor feels really smooth, and I honestly like it. I did not take it down all the way and remove some of the deeper blemishes. This floor is obviously very old. All right, so I went ahead and picked up this Bona system here. It's like a hardwood floor. Well, really just it's like Swiffer, but floor cleaning, etc. They kind of tout hardwood floor stuff though, so I went ahead and picked this up. So before I stain, I'm gonna, I have vacuumed like a ton, and so I'm just going to run this microfiber. All right, let's talk a little bit about the process I'm gonna go through here. I'm gonna apply a water-based wood conditioner. So yeah, obviously, if I've made anything clear, you're going with water-based everything from conditioner to stain to seal, if you're going that route, or you're going oil-based everything. I'm gonna be applying it with the conditioner just with a roller. The conditioners I'm not too worried about, just getting an even coat, making sure I get everything conditioned. But I'm gonna be applying the stain. One of the big differences is I'm gonna be applying the stain with an actual stain applicator. And I'm pretty excited about this from a speed perspective. The brush just took me so long, and it was so taxing. Every video I watched, I didn't see a single person apply it with a brush, not even DIYers. And I was like, God damn it. So I decided to pull the trigger and get one of these applicators, which hopefully makes this process faster. I'll talk a little bit about timeline. So, in YouTube videos, it's hard to tell how long somebody was working on a project. But the first time it took me from start to finish probably 5 days of on and off, and then 2 full days. Now this time, with the sanding and everything, I took time off because I just didn't want to do it all like I did last time. As I was saying, the second time it took me, I got that sander on Wednesday. I sanded Wednesday night like for an hour or two, Thursday night for an hour or two, and then I finished sanding Friday night. Now it's Saturday morning. I considered doing a clear finish, a natural finish on this after I did it the first time. I really did, because the stain was so scary to work with. And then I decided, well, all those lessons learned, I think it's gonna be fine this time around. Not a fan of the way that roller was going. It was soaking up just too much. So I'm gonna see how this does with the conditioner. Not a fan of the way this is working with that conditioner either. So I'm gonna rinse this out. Let me show you this. This costs $13, this here, you know, from Lowe's. This is 300 rags. So I'm back to conditioner, or applying the conditioner with a brush. And that's for a couple reasons. One, I didn't buy that much conditioner because I was going based off of a brush application that I did last time. Floors are so dry right now that they are soaking up a ton, and that roller application just was not getting enough on it. Okay, so the current status of the floor is we sanded it right, put conditioner on it, let the conditioner dry, wiped off excess, and then sanded it with a 300. I'll show this because it was a step I did off camera, but I just took some 320 grit sandpaper, put it on a block here. Really quickly, just went over the whole floor, didn't take long at all. And it made actually a big difference, which is why I did it. Here's my stain applicator. I'm going to use a brush to, you know, edge in. I'm gonna edge in as I go, so it'll, like, I'm starting left to right, and I'm just gonna edge in as I go. So, you know, one strip at a time. Edge it in. Basically the width of this, it'll probably take 15 or 20 passes to finish this room, but I'm gonna basically go the width of that, edge in that long. You go back, apply this bad boy. Then before it dries, you go back and wipe down the strip that you just did completely, and then rinse and repeat. I'm going left to right, so this side of the room over to this side of the room. The reason for that is because I don't want to be stuck. And so I'm gonna basically go down a thin last strip along this wall as I go, wiping it as I go, and then go back into that corner, hop up on the butcher block, and finish that corner from laying on the butcher block. Not likely gonna catch that part, so you're just gonna have to imagine how acrobatic I am while completing that section of it. And so with that, we're gonna dive into staining the floor for the second time. All right, let's talk the floor. I'm officially done staining, sanding. Everything went well this time. The main issue that I had last time, obviously, again, was the sections overlapping of stain. The section lines were just really dark. And I overcame that this time. You know, I did it lengthwise, and if I did have overlapping stain, I did it while it was still very wet and thick on there, overlapped it, and then blended it in. Let's take a look at the floor. So what I really got here was, and you have to know that the shadows from the lights versus the windows versus everything really make it look darker in some places and lighter in other places, depending on the angle you're standing at. But overall, I'm very happy with the floor. I think that it's not perfect, right? There's a couple blemishes in it from the sanding. Because I was using a hand sander, I missed, you know, a couple spots. It's not perfect, but I think it looks really good. And I'm probably the only person that's gonna notice some of the imperfections. You know how it goes with a DIY project. And once I have like furniture in here, you're really not going to be able to tell because it's going to break up kind of all of the perfect lines and everything. In summary, I think that the floor is going to look really good once fully furnished, fully finished. And I'm excited to move on past this project, and I think I'm perfectly happy with it. I could not live with those big dark sections. This floor I think looks great. Some of the imperfections will frustrate me, but they're very small and probably will be covered with furniture or rug anyways, and I'm probably the only one that's going to notice it. So with that being said, I'm going to dive into putting the protective coat over the floor. This process should be pretty easy. I'm going to be brushing it on as per the instructions on the can. I'm not going to be doing using a kind of a standing applicator, and I'm probably going to do 3 coats. So I'll see you in 9 hours. God damn. Oh yeah. I am a happy camper right now, if you can't tell. So I just finished coat 1, and I was nervous the whole time. Obviously, I was like, oh my God, am I gonna see these brush strokes? Some of these, it was hard to hide some of the brush strokes. And so I was nervous the whole time I was applying it, but I just tried to keep it thin and even. And it's been 2 hours, and let me just show you guys what I'm looking at here. Oh, you can't, this is just not doing it justice. So in short, the camera's picking up a lot of the glare. This is a satin finish floor, and because of that, what I'm seeing is the slight reflection off of the satin is hiding some of the blemishes that I was really kind of frustrated with. So that matte finish, the lighting would kind of deep dive the colors and deep dive the grain imperfections. And I think what's happening here is the satin finish is reflecting versus letting the light absorb and deep dive it. So your eyes aren't really being attracted as much to some of the imperfections that I had in the floor, like specifically sanding imperfections. And it just looks like $1,000. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna give it a light sand. 220 is recommended. Just gonna really quickly sand the whole floor, and then we'll remove dust, and we're gonna do coat number 2. So with that being said, let's dive into it. So you should be able to see these marks here. That is it taking just ever so slightly a little bit of the residue off the top. And then you'll notice that the floor just has a bunch of dust all over it. So that's literally just really light, 220. Creates a little bit of the dust from the sealant, but we'll vacuum that up now and start coat 2. Here we are in the finished living room from a flooring standpoint. I'm going to really fast tonight, that is, attach the trim and do that really quick, and I'll show you how I go about installing that trim, and then I will cut to a reveal. So I want to have the trim on and painted, and then I'm going to do a full reveal of the flooring with the trim and everything else. So looking forward to it. Let's do it. So I watched Jeff from Renovating put his trim on. If you haven't seen it, that show is, where I'm pretty sure most YouTubers get their information, but I watched him put trim on with some liquid nail, and said, well, if Jeff's doing it, I can do it. Good enough for me. That way I don't have to buy a trim nailer. Let's do it. Trim is reconnected. Saved all the old trim, but I did buy some of this, what's it called? The footer trim or whatever it's called. I went with that shape there. It's kind of I think it's called Colonial or something. We go at the bottom of the trim. So when it's all said and done, the trim will have this bottom Colonial, that's sticking out more because I had to lean it, but this bottom Colonial looking trim addition on there. We'll paint the trim so it's all the same. And then I'll do my reveal, so let's do it. Well, that's a wrap on the living room. Floor is done, trim is done, painted. This was a hell of a project. I enjoyed every step of it, even the failures along the way. I think it looks phenomenal. The best part about this, like projects like this, is now this is my style and I love it. With that being said, like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Enjoy the reveal.